The Truth of Girls.
Hi everyone, it's Sonia here. I hope you had a nice holiday and I wish you a happy new year. I wanted to talk to you about something. Like the flu can make you crazy. So here's what happened. As you know, I got sick over Christmas. It was a flu. So what I wanted to tell you about was I got sick with the flu. But what happened was after I got over it, which really I was only very sick for maybe about 48 hours, and then I started taking elderberry syrup and my actual flu symptoms left. But I noticed that something was really wrong with my mind. I'll tell you what it was. Remember I said I was joking in my other video that like, oh, I'm coming down with rabies and like haha, I'm being paranoid. Actually, it wasn't funny. I had this crazy like obsessive like OCD style fear that I had somehow contracted rabies, which is like ridiculously impossible. I was in Mexico and the person I stayed with had adopted a stray cat from the street, but clearly the cat didn't have rabies because it would have died, uh, a long time ago. I'd also been in a cave where there was a bat, but the bat didn't touch me. It just sort of flew by. So like I knew logically I couldn't have rabies. It's crazy, but I had like OCD. You hear about the stuff with kids getting pandas from strep, and it's like you get a virus or a bacteria, in this case strep. In their case strep, and it does something to your brain and it produces OCD behaviors or like uncontrolled, like repetitive, maybe scary thoughts. And it's like you have a complete change in your personality and in the way that you think. You hear about this happening with children. And I think that it was something like that happened with me. So I was like, oh my God, something is not right. Why is my mind like completely unraveling? And I started looking up whether the flu could trigger some kind of like mental disorder. I know it sounds bad, but I started Googling, can the flu trigger mental illness? And I found out that it's a thing. The flu, probably other things too, but in particular influenza can trigger, like what was triggering with me was anxiety and depression, but very bad, and like kind of OCD. And I found out that apparently it's a thing. That it's not just that because you were sick and it screwed up your holiday and you have the blues, but it's actually doing something to your brain. Yeah, apparently this has been documented going way back. I found out even in the 1800s, they noticed that people who had been sick with the flu would experience, they said, depression and mania. I don't get manic, but apparently some people do after they get depressed or they get manic. Like the flu can make you crazy. Before I got sick, I was fine. I was happy. I was motivated. And it was like after I got sick, first I had this really bad OCD, and that started to go down. And this horrible anxiety. Like I didn't even log into Patreon to wish everybody Merry Christmas, which I really wanted to, but the anxiety was so bad I was not able to even open my computer and log into anything. Oh, I had so much anxiety about logging in. It's like ridiculous. I even had a nightmare last night about that I got logged out of Facebook by accident. Facebook, which shadow bans me and is totally useless, but whatever. I had this nightmare that like somehow like I tried to post something but it logged me out, and then to try to log in, like if you did something wrong, it would like log you out permanently. And it was like you had to click on pictures and like there was all these complicated things you had to do to log in. Like that's how freaked out I am about logging in. Like I have too many accounts and too many emails, and it's like it's become like this, like a tornado of like passwords and accounts and emails that I'm just like, screw it, I don't want to deal with any of it. Yeah, so I have like this really bad anxiety about logging in right now, which is kind of like a huge hindrance when you do a lot of stuff online. And the anxiety was just insane. I was so paranoid about getting rabies that I was like in tears over it, and I called this friend of mine who specializes in OCD, and he was all like, oh well, the solution to that is exposure therapy. You have to like expose yourself to the thing you're afraid of, like what, a bat, what, rabies. And he was giving me all this advice, but I was thinking, yeah, but this isn't normal for me. I'm not usually like this. And then without doing anything, I did no like special mental exercises or CBT or whatever, nothing. Within about 3 days, it went away on its own. It was just from the infection. Like, I mean, the anxiety was just insane. And depression, like, as if the reward centers in my brain, that normally when you do something, you get a reward. It was like that whole system was just completely down, so that I couldn't enjoy anything. I couldn't feel any satisfaction from anything, and it was just like it just unplugged one day. It was just absolutely crazy. I'm saying it was in the past, as if it's in the past, but it's not completely in the past yet. But I wanted to tell you that this can happen if you get sick, at least with the flu, and afterwards you feel like you're not yourself and your mind is not what it usually is. Apparently this can happen. Apparently it is related to inflammation, but I don't want to take any more Advil. And I know like you could take turmeric and stuff like that, but I hate the flavor, and I hate taking pills, and I just can't get myself to do it, and it just gives me anxiety. So I'm taking the natural hormones again, because when I got sick and in the weeks before, I just for some reason I discontinued the hormones, so I'm doing that. I don't know, eventually when I'm feeling a bit better, I'm going to start exercising, because at this point it was like I couldn't even exercise. Like, I would just be so angry if I had to exercise. So what I've been doing is just trying to keep busy. Like, I've been working, and I've personally, it seems to me like as long as I'm really like occupied with my hands and doing something, even if I don't feel satisfaction from it or whatever, but as long as I'm not sitting there thinking about how bad I feel, like as long as I'm moving, just keep moving and just keep doing something, or do something for somebody else, you know, it takes my mind off it. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you that yes, getting the flu can trigger stuff with your brain that make you a little nuts. And if it happens to you, don't jump off the f***ing bridge or anything, because it's not, you're probably not going to stay like that forever. But whatever, if you're going through a similar thing, like, you're not alone, and it could be triggered by an illness. Anyway, Happy New Year, and hang in there if this happened to you also. And that's it. Thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you next time.
The truth occurs.